Hey, in this video, we're talking about how to change the algorithms on social media, including YouTube, not just for yourself, but just in general as a community across all of personal development, how to get the algorithms to start working in our favor. So in this video, I'm going to just riff a little bit at a high level about algorithms. And algorithms, by the way, you have to pronounce it correctly. There's this guy in our community who used to always mispronounce it. And so I sent him an email that said, you don't pronounce it incorrectly and say all algorithms. It's algorithms, just like it's algebra. And he thought that was super helpful for him. So, he said some super kind words and, talked about how I probably just changed his life. Or it was the other way around and he sent me that email and now I do my best to pronounce it correctly. So algorithms. Makes it sound more like a person, like Mr. Gorithms, Mr. Algorithms. It's really Alfred Gorithms, but he goes by Al. So we're going to talk about algorithms in the context of social media, something that we can't run from. It's everywhere. And one of the big issues that a lot of people have, whether they know they have it or they don't know they have it, is with algorithms, because algorithms control our experiences on social media. And if you don't know what algorithms are, I'm not going to pretend that I know all the ins and outs and all the details and stuff, but essentially it's the rules that social media platforms use for our behavior on those platforms. And one application of algorithms is that when you're on all the different platforms, you probably see certain ads that you are interested in. And interest is really determined by the algorithms, by the automated systems, by engagement. And so you don't necessarily see ads according to your interest just in your head. You see ads according to your interest on your keyboard, meaning you see more of the things that you've clicked on before. Or you've probably noticed this. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you will going forward if you haven't. If you just watch, like, you scroll through whatever the platform is and there's something that catches your eye. So you just watch it a little bit, but it's not interesting enough to unmute it to actually hear it. Or maybe you're at work and you can't hear it, but you watch it enough, the platform knows that you're on that advertisement or that you're on that video. It doesn't always have to be ads from other people. It could just be posts from the people that you're following. But if like that video plays on your screen, then that's a form of engagement. Like you are actually consuming that. And so what that means is if you didn't mean to consume it, but you just stop your thumb scrolling while a video is playing and you put your phone in your pocket or you get distracted or whatever, your phone probably thinks, oh, you're interested in that video because that video is playing longer. So it's a form of engagement. And so what that means is when the algorithms recognize that you engage with certain things, the algorithms are going to keep sending you those certain things. It's going to keep sending you the kind of people or the exact people that you engage with generally, and the advertisements that you engage with or that match some other behavior. So like you could be on Google. I'm sure most of you have experienced this, whether you noticed it or not. I'm sure all of you have experienced this actually, where if you type something into Google and then you're on that same device or maybe even a different device that's connected, you'll start seeing ads about the thing that you typed into Google, right? There's also audio algorithms nowadays where your devices can listen to what you're saying and send you ads based on what they hear through your audio devices. So the bottom line is algorithms really determine our consumption experience. They determine what we know about, right? If you go onto your Facebook feed, you don't see all that is viewable. Now, for any of you that were on the earliest versions of Facebook, I don't believe they had these algorithms in place at the time. So I believe that at the time, like if you were following 50 people, let's say, you're going to see all of those 50 people because the algorithms didn't know which ones you were most interested in. So you were just going to get all of them. Whereas nowadays, you know, if you have 5,000 friends on Facebook, chances are you've not seen anything from like 4,800 of them in forever because Facebook doesn't think you're interested in them. And because you're not interested in them, Facebook doesn't tell you about them. That doesn't show you them. And because they don't show you them, well, then you can't engage with them. And then the cycle feeds itself. Whereas if you start getting into a cycle where you're constantly commenting on things or liking and sharing and or loving things, depending on whatever platform you're on, then the algorithms will keep sending you those things from those same exact channels. On YouTube, every time I open up my YouTube app, there is one channel that is always the first one that YouTube shows me. And I always click on it. Always, in like the strictest use of that universal word, always. I always click on it because I want to see all the videos that this guy puts out. And so YouTube knows that. And so YouTube's like, the algorithm is like, this dude's easy because we're always going to send him this video from this channel and he's always going to click it. And the channel puts out multiple videos every day. So my first option on YouTube's very, very simple for the algorithms. And same thing with Facebook. And they send me emails about the people that I engage with a lot that says, hey, so-and-so just commented on somebody's page, right? And that's just the way the algorithms work nowadays. So one of the challenges with that from a personal standpoint is that we just stay in the same cycles that we're always in. And so if there's information that you are really interested in, if it's like some kind of divisive information, like it's this versus that, and you have pretty clearly established yourself to be on one side of that opposition, then Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or Google or whatever, they're going to feed you primarily the information that matches your established position because they know you'll engage. And it's not that they predict you're going to engage. They know you will engage because they're basing all of this stuff on behavior. And that's one of the things that's really important to understand. These are all behavior-based algorithms that operate at the speed of light. And so we're essentially powerless against these algorithms unless we become intentional and start to exert more control. Because if we don't, then the algorithms are just putting in front of our face what they believe we will continue to engage with because we have engaged with it in the past. And so the danger in that is our positions, whether we're talking about certain, political positions or certain information that we like always, like if you are really into yoga and you just keep clicking on videos that are teaching morning routines on yoga, you're going to probably get all these different versions of morning yoga routines because that's what you click on. And so you're now going to know the universe of morning yoga routines because the algorithms will keep giving you more options inside that established path. But what that means is if you've not shown any kind of behavior patterns on meditation, let's say, then you might not know about meditation morning routines because it's clear that you are engaging with yoga morning routines. And that's all that you're interested in. And as you continue to engage with that, and that seems to be all the options, then those are all your choices. And then pretty soon, the universe of meditation doesn't even become known to you because you're really fully established in the world of yoga, let's say. So what happens with these algorithms is once they get pretty firmly entrenched, then they become pretty hard to change. And then we think it's all that's out there. And from a big macro perspective, then we can't grow in our individual perspectives because all that's happening is we're getting fed the things that we already have established behavior patterns around. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we get fed things that we agree with. We get fed things that we engage with. So let's say we're talking about some kind of divisive argument, whether it's a political argument or some kind of religious conversation or some sort of philosophical conversation, whether the earth is flat or the earth is round. Any of these kinds of this versus that conversations where there's opposition, you're either on this team or that team. Any of those sort of tug of war scenarios, whichever side that you have positioned yourself with, whichever side that you resonate with the most, you aren't necessarily only going to get things that make that you agree with philosophically, but you might also get things sent to you that the algorithms know you disagree with so much that you're going to engage in it. And our disagreements, I think, and I think this is supported by evidence, our disagreements actually create more engagement than our agreements, because we tend to want to fight back against something that we've already established is wrong. If we've already established something is like the enemy position, if it's more personal, like us versus them, and there's people involved in this, or if it's just philosophical, like this versus that the earth is clearly round or the earth is clearly flat, the more energetic connection that you have to something, the more likely it is that you're going to speak out against anything that's in opposition of that, right? So how does this matter in this whole algorithm conversation? I think from a personal perspective, and then I'm going to talk about this for you as a coach and as a business owner. On a personal perspective, if you want your horizons to be expanded, if you want more understanding of the world, if you want to illuminate more of your ignorance and the things that you don't know about, then you've got to be really intentional with your algorithms and essentially confuse the algorithms so that there's not just one kind of material that you always engage with. You engage with everything on that spectrum. That's assuming that you want to know in the flat earth versus round earth debate, you want to know both positions. If you want to know both positions, then you need to let the algorithms know I'm interested in all of these other positions too. So you need to click and you need to engage. But if you don't, and if you just want to be, laser focused, then obviously don't do that. But you just have to understand that the algorithms are going to respond to your behavior. So your behavior is what's going to determine the rules. And then therefore that's what's going to determine what's on the menu that you get to choose from. And what you see is not what's available, right? So what you experience is not the same thing of what's in existence. So what's in existence to consume on YouTube is not the same as what you experience is available to consume on YouTube. What you experience is based on algorithms. What's in existence is based on what is actually there. And just because you never watch a certain channel doesn't mean that there's not programs on that channel 24 hours a day. And if you have a TV nowadays with cable or streaming, systems or whatever, I think that's pretty easy. Like you've watched whatever you've watched on Netflix and you haven't come close to what's actually available on Netflix, right? Netflix, by the way, heavily uses algorithms, and it's one of the ways that Netflix got so powerful and so big is because they started to use this to their advantage. So how do we use this in a business context? What you have to understand is that if you're going to be on social media, you have to understand how algorithms work. And here's one of the most important pieces of algorithmic understanding. The algorithms don't care about your content. the algorithms can't care about your content because the algorithms are not caring entities. So it doesn't matter that you have good content that would change people's lives. The algorithms are designed to benefit the platform. And what's super, super important about this, just at a like a meta level, is that the algorithms on social media platforms over the last 10 to 15 years have really figured out what causes humans to engage. Now, let me pause for a second. Now, why do the algorithms care about engagement? Because that's how they make money. The platforms sell advertising to audiences. And so when you can establish that an audience is on a platform, then the platform can sell advertising to marketers on that platform. And the advertisers are going to be willing to pay a certain amount of money if they know that every video that this channel puts out gets 5,000 eyeballs. Then the marketers are paying for the exposure to those 5,000 eyeballs. It's really important that we understand that is the business model that the platforms are using, because engagement is driven by polarization. So if we're talking about really emotional divides, like politics, like race, like religion, if we're talking about human divisions like that, then the polarization comes in oppositional emotion, meaning the more angry I am at you, the more likely it will be that I engage in the fight against you. Because we've got this oppositional emotion. There's a lot of emotional attachment in an oppositional playground. It's us versus them, me versus you. And the algorithms are not trying to make people angry because the algorithms don't care. They can't assess whether people are angry. They only assess whether people are engaged. But when people are enraged, people are engaged. So by creating algorithms that are driven by engagement, what ends up happening is they start formulating rules that create enragement. Because the more enraged people are, the more engaged they'll be. So I think this is really important to understand, that there's no like malicious intent in these automated systems. They're just paying attention to what makes humans engage. And then what makes humans engage is this enragement. But polarization doesn't only happen in this oppositional world. Polarization also happens internally. So when somebody's internally polarized with their emotions, and it could be some of those same emotions, it could be anger, but it's not necessarily anger against another team or another enemy. It's just anger as a result of whatever the content is. Anger is, I don't know that I've thought about this before. Anger is a fluid emotion, meaning anger is like a really powerful catalyst for people to do something. Usually, if we're angry as humans, we have to do something with that anger. We have to project it. We have to get in motion physically, energetically, on our keyboards. Like we treat anger like a hot potato. We need to get it off of us and get it out and get it in motion, right? So anger is a fluid energy because it operates so hot. You know, it's like a hot stove, a hot burner. Like you just got to get off that. And so there's a lot of a lot of energy in terms of movement. There's a lot of movement in anger. So when AI comes in with these algorithms and go, this thing tends to make people move, and because they're moving, we get to make money off of it. Let's keep doing the things that make the humans move. And so anger is just one of those things. I would say love and appreciation is not. A state of love and appreciation is, I don't think, nowhere near for most people a movement kind of energy. It's more of like contemplative energy. Would you guys agree with that? Let me know if you agree. Like when I'm in a state of love and appreciation, I don't necessarily want to do something with it. Like I don't want to like throw it out there and, you know, do something. Maybe I'll create a poem or make a post or something like that, but it's nowhere near like when I'm angry, somebody needs to hear about it. So that is moving all of us into these polarized positions that will create behavior movement. Now, if we want to collectively start to change the algorithms of society, then we need to change how we engage. It's like the only way to change the menu is to change what people are ordering to eat. So if people are constantly engaging with division and anger and frustration and hate and all that kind of stuff, there's no reason for the algorithms to change. But what happens is, I think in society, I think the loudest voices on any subject, especially the real polarizing emotional ones, are the more extreme voices on each side. And the more extreme voices are not representations of the entire collective thought usually. It's just the most extreme and the most bold and a lot of times the angriest versions of that side's philosophy or that side's philosophy, you know, those thoughts, like what wants to be shared. And so I think what happens, especially in the real divisive conversations, is that the small minority of a certain group is what gets the loudest airplay because it creates engagement. And so the majority of the people are quiet. And because the majority of the people are quiet, then they don't get airtime. They don't get the microphone. And when they do, they don't speak in a way that creates more polarized emotion. And so soft-spoken, loving people are not profitable for social media platforms. Transformational content is not profitable for social media platforms. And then here we are, we're like, hey, we want to change the world and we want to help people change their lives. But how come it's so hard to build a channel? And how come it's so hard to build a following? And how come it's so difficult to get people to say yes to all these things? It's because you're swimming against these algorithmic rules that are actually not set up for soft, loving, transformational content to win. But again, it's only based on engagement. So what does that mean? If we want to start changing society's algorithms, we need to engage with the stuff that we usually don't. We need to amplify the value of transformational content. We need to amplify the value of love for social media platforms. We need to amplify the value of the things that aren't really all that valuable right now. So what does that mean individually? That means instead of engaging with all the anger and typing in, 10 comments on a certain in a certain conversation that's just going to feed the beast, move those 10 comments over here when a friend of yours or somebody that you think is trying out there to help shift people, put your engagement into that. So what does that mean? People that are sharing love, comment on it, like it, share it, do whatever you can to start shifting the algorithms, not just for your personal feed, but for the value of this kind of conversation in society. And this is a non-emotional equation. We're not going to change the way society feeds us the enragement just by saying this is not right. We're going to change the way society feeds us by changing what we order. And it's essentially, it's like every time that we engage on social media, we're telling the algorithms, give me more of this. This is what I want. But also this thing is valuable to you too, because it's getting a lot of engagement. And so I think at a collective level, I mean, I don't know that this is possible, but theoretically, at least, if we as a society, had a meeting and we had all 8 billion of us, or however many people there are on the planet, and we said, okay, what do we want to actually experience on the planet? And what are we experiencing now? I think what we would find is that the majority of like good, transformational, life-changing, spreading good into the world, I think most of us would want more of that. But we would have to collectively go, okay, then we need to, in mass, change what's valuable on social media. And then the algorithms will shift according to our behavior. But they can't change according to just our desire or our will, or just the inherent value of information is not going to change the profitable value of that information from a social media standpoint and from what the algorithms are programmed to do. So my call forward for all of us is to amplify the value of good content. And I'm talking about good from a whatever you decide good is. But in this case, if we're talking about like transformational coaching and life coaching and, putting, more shifts in the world energetically, emotionally, spiritually, and all of that, then we need to tell social media, this is important. This is valuable. People are engaging in this. And the only way we can do it is behaviorally. The only way we can do it is, I mean, you've probably heard somebody, if you watch YouTube content, you've probably heard somebody say, before I get into this video, please like and subscribe and share if you want to. This is what they're talking about. Now, some of them are doing that to just simply, feed their own algorithms, which is totally fine. But it's the only way that YouTube understands that this video is valuable. And so it's up to us as a society to redefine value, because the algorithms have defined value according to polarization. And again, internally, that could mean dopamine hits. It's not just us versus you type of polarization. It's also what polarizes, polarizes just like the extreme of anything, right? What polarizes our internal energy enough to act, to take, action, to behave, to engage. What polarizes us enough. And, again, unfortunately, what polarizes us as humans enough to engage more often than not is actually negative stuff. If we define negative as anger and attacks and all that kind of stuff, right? So we have our work cut out for us, because this is going to be really difficult to do. And it's going to take a long time. But if you want to see if it works, then what you can do is on any of your platforms, just start typing in certain things. Like I don't know how long it would take, but after a short period of time, you could probably take all of your YouTube suggested videos or all of your Facebook feeds and turn them into, aquarium animals, right? Like what are the animals that live in aquariums, and or zoo animals, or just like anything at all. And you just keep behaving on that path and it'll start to change your algorithms. So eventually, you can actually take control personally. But I think it's time, I think it's been, well past time for us to start elevating transformational content so that the social media channels actually can see that they're profitable. Because until it's profitable, they don't care. And we live in a world right now where polarization is profitable. And as long as polarization is profitable, then unity is not. Whether that's bringing people together inside of relationships or inside of families or inside of big, divisive conversations out there, or internally bringing people together, like integrating themselves into a fuller version of who they really are. That's not profitable on social media yet. It can be on a grand scale, but it's not profitable yet. So we need to not change the algorithms. We need to change what the algorithms are driven by. And rather than telling the algorithms, stop spreading polarization, we just need to change what's profitable. And then the algorithms will change, because the algorithms are going to follow the profit. And it'd be nice if we could change that, but we can't. That's just that's the way the social media platforms work, at least in any capitalized, in any capitalistic societies of any kind. So we need to change what the system is fed by, not just kind of moralistically getting upset by what's running the profitized machine. We just need to change what it finds profit in. So I know this is like pie in the sky at this point, and it might feel like we're just, throwing little pebbles in the ocean, but that's how all big shifts start. And you might first notice your own personal experiences changing on social media. But then this is just the way I think, and I'm going to leave you with this thought. I can get really discouraged if I base what I do based on its outcome. Meaning, if I put my time and energy, will I change the things that I want to change? Will I ever see the change in certain systems that I personally don't think benefit society, right? Whatever those systems are. If I start thinking, is my voice going to change a system? The answer unequivocally all the time is going to be no. Your individual voice not going to change a system. Systems are just too big. But when I change my own personal lens and I ask myself, do I want to be somebody who spoke up or stayed silent? Then that's easy for me. I want to be somebody who spoke up, whatever that looks like, in whatever area, right? So don't demand that your efforts, whether we're talking about algorithms or just talking about putting like good content out there in the world, like don't teach good content because somebody's going to buy it. Teach good content because you want to be somebody who taught good content. And if you commit to that enough and you've got that intrinsic inspiration and motivation, then eventually, yeah, you can start making money on some of this stuff and you can build a business around it. But do it for intrinsic reasons first, because that's going to be able to overpower some of the external forces for most people. And even though immediately you're not going to get a wave of money coming in or business success right away, or you might, but that shouldn't be the reason that you're doing it. And then when you create some momentum around that, then you can actually start to create some profit and customers and all the things you want to do as a coach. So that's my take. Just to reiterate what I was saying earlier, as a community, we just need to amplify the value of, and I mean as a community, like as a personal development community, we need to amplify the value of personal development content on the platforms. And that's going to be what changes the algorithms. All right. So I hope that helps. I hope it makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. And you can practice on this video, practice engagement. And let's just we just need to help each other. I mean, that's really what this comes down to. We need to help each other, because what I think the world needs are some of the softer voices to get louder. Engage with the content that you want to amplify the value of. All right. If you like this video, then check out that video right there. It's the #1 thing that you can do to attract better clients and build your business successfully. Most of us were taught that it's not safe to stand out. It's a primal conflict. Intellectually, most of us understand that we should be different, but we have